These are the new Babolat Pure Strikes. I have the 98 1820 in my hand, and I think it is the best of the range.
And I have the 98 1619, and I think this is the best of the range.
He is wrong, I am right. Keep watching and we'll tell you why. We are here today with the Babolat Pure Strikes. We have the two 98s. We're going to be comparing them, contrasting them to figure out which one is best.
So they are both 98 square inch heads. We've got one which is an 1820 swing pattern, which Josh prefers, and we have the 1619 string pattern that I prefer.
The rest of the spec on these rackets is identical. They're both 305 grams. They both have a balance point of 320 mil, which is 7 points head light, which means they have a swing weight of 305 grams. Exactly the same as the weight, which is quite unusual. So it should be a really nicely balanced control frame.
Yes, it is a thin beamed racket. We have got a combination of the box shape and elliptical, which is specific to the strike, and it creates a stiffness RA of 68, which is actually quite high, isn't it?
That is quite high for a control racket.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays, in addition with the new technologies that have been added.
Yes, do you want to tell me what the new technologies are?
You don't know, do you?
Because I've forgotten, yeah.
So the big one is NF2 Tech, and this is a vibration filtration reduction system.
Ah, right, yes.
And that is the insertion of natural flax fibres strategically placed in the frame, mainly in the handle, to help give you a better feel on contact, to give you that sensation. And that is one of the big things that Babolat wanted to do with this racket, is give the player, make the racket feel like an extension of their body, to give them the right sensation and right feedback as they were playing. We've strung them both up with RPM Blast, Babolat's most popular string, at £50. We're going to get on court, put them through their paces, and see which one we prefer.
Right, I'll go first. I really like the 1619. Obviously, we played with both. We swapped them around every 4 games, didn't we? Played 4 games of each and then swapped them over. Both of them are really, really nice rackets. Let's get that out to start with. No criticism. I'm more than happy with the 1820 if I had to play with that. I just preferred the 1619. It felt a little bit more lively, a bit more fun, as we often say. That's what we're looking for out of rackets, myself especially. Yeah,
interesting. I agree that they were both better than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
I think having played with the 100s first,
yes,
I was a little unsure about these, but then having really liked the 97, maybe I should have thought more about it and thought, yeah, these are more likely to be like the 97,
yeah,
therefore more enjoyable.
Well, there is this issue with the 100s. So the strike was designed to be a 98, I think I'm not mistaken, and this is the 4th generation. Yep. The first one was 2014,
yep.
And I actually used the 98 1820 when it first came out. But since then, I've kind of drifted away and gone towards the more open string pattern. I feel it just suits the 98 square inch head more, having the open string pattern. You need that little bit of extra juice from the string pattern almost to give a bit more power, a little bit more spin. And I think it just works better in the 98. That's what I can see why you didn't like the 100. It feels like a version of this. This is more pure.
Yeah, and whilst I completely agree that the 1619 is more playable,
yes,
does give you more spin, is livelier, is arguably more fun. The reason why I think the 1820 is better and preferable is I think it does what you think it's going to do more often. I think it's more predictable. I think it's more consistent. I think, and I think that, and the sensation feedback is superb. Like you really feel when you chip, and as volleying was very surprising how nice it was to volley.
Yeah.
And I think that the 1820 remarkably felt a lot different to the 1619.
Yes.
In that way, and it was definitely more suited to flatter hitting. It was definitely more suited to kind of. I think maybe this is partly a double hander, single hander, shorter, again with the challenging conditions needing that kind of reliability and predictability, and I think the 1820 gave that to me.
Yeah, I think certainly sight unseen, before we started, we kind of expected your game to suit the 1820 and my game to suit the 1619, it does kind of make sense. There is, I'm going to regret saying this as soon as I've said it, but there does seem to be an element of the better the player, they do prefer the tighter string bed, right? Like the 1820 in these rackets makes more sense logically. I just don't like it. I think is my point. I think I like to be able to just chuck the racket around. I need that bit of spin for the ball control.
Yeah.
So you prefer that consistent contact, and I prefer the sort of lively contact. You know, this feels lively and wild. This feels quite tame in comparison.
Well, I agree in principle, and I agree in the theory that you have theorized. But normally, I think I would also enjoy the 1619 more because it's just more power and more kind of fun off the string bed. But in this particular instance, between these two exact rackets, I felt the 1820 was better. I felt like it had more of an element of quality to it.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah.
Like the change from a hatchback to a SUV.
Great. So, worth noting at this point, we've tested the brand new blade, the version 9, in the 1820 and the 1619, and the head speed, whilst it's a similar racket, it's 100 square inch, and the Pro, so we've got the head speeds of 1619 and the Pro's in 1820. In all of those rackets, I preferred the 1619, and in all of them...
No, in the blade I preferred the 1619.
Yes. And I think, interestingly, these two are the most different. Yes, the difference between these two rackets is actually quite big.
Yeah, I was very surprised. When we first picked them up, we went straight to the net and we're going volley to volley, and we didn't know which one we had.
Yes, that's right.
And I said, do you reckon you could work it out? And in about 4 shots, you were like, yeah, I've definitely got the 1619. And I was like, yeah, I've definitely got the 1820. They really changed, or were really predictable in how they would play and how they would feel. It'd be a great one to do. We've got this dream to get every tennis racket, spray paint them all black. So you've got no idea what they are, pick them up and use them, and see which racket people actually would then gravitate to. And this would be a really good one for people who use the Pure Strike to try and A, figure out, and B, really decide which one they like.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. It's a strange dream, but it's a great idea.
It will be bigger budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Feel free to donate to our... We don't have donations.
No, we buy our own coffee. So...
Slow down when talking about coffee.
I guess the big thing about these rackets is the feel. That's what Babolat are after.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to, they're trying to compete with the blade on feel and comfort. And I say both of them are very comfortable. They both feel great. They both play great. We don't give scores, but these would be scored very, very highly. They're lovely things to play with.
They don't score, but they score high.
Yeah, they would if.
Yeah. Serving?
Well, there'll be some, hopefully Joe can cut in some videos of you getting aced all over the place. It's so easy to serve with.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, especially on first serves, you could really get like a real snap feeling at the top of the serve. It really felt like the racket came through really quick.
Yeah, it almost feels like the racket isn't, this is going to sound ridiculous, not solid. Like it feels like the racket kind of does some of the whipping and the bending.
Fourth dimension.
Yeah, it's bizarre, like sensation, especially on serves, where it almost feels like the racket is coming over itself. It's like bending in half.
Snappy.
Yeah, which is odd because the stiffness rating is so high.
Well, not so high,
but higher than expected. It almost feels like it should have an RA of like 10 at times because it felt so snappy. And I think our serves were just firing off the strings, weren't they? Like especially the 1619.
For sure.
Some of the bounce is like exploding off the surface almost.
I think if we look more kind of towards the tech, it may be part of this mix of box and elliptical frame that you get the flexibility of the box frame, the square, like most flexible rackets, right? A kind of square in shape. Power rackets more round, elliptical to give more structure and stiffness.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that blend comes into force there.
Yeah.
Maybe. In summary, both these rackets are excellent.
Yep.
Very enjoyable to play. And for those who've watched my personal top 5,
yes,
my rationale was all about looking back fondly on moments having played with rackets, because we use so many now. It's the kind of the whole experience that led to my enjoyment rather than the racket itself, and I will look back on this time fondly.
Brilliant. If you've watched my top 5, you'll see that this came in at number 2, and it's great. I absolutely love it. It's a really, really fun racket. Couldn't recommend it more. I'd be more than happy to spend my own money on one of these. And if someone said you've got you're playing with a Babolat Pure Strike 4th generation 1619, I'd be delighted. Go.
So, as always, these are our honest and genuine personal opinions. We've used these today, this 1619 and 1820. We've actually used these a little bit more as well as today. But it's a racket that I think you would grow into as well.
Yes.
And get used to and develop. So if you are a current Pure Strike user of the previous generation, the one that was out for about 17 years, you will notice an upgrade in this, in the feeling and the feedback.
100%.
If you are a Blade, Radical, maybe a V-Core user, and you're considering maybe changing,
Percept maybe.
Maybe looking for something a bit more powerful in the Percept, this Pure Strike would be one that is worth demoing. As always, if you're in the UK, you can demo these frames from us. It's really straightforward to do so. If you're not in the UK, find a local independent retailer, support them as best you can, give it a try, and see what you think.
Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all of you who subscribe. Those who don't, sort it out. Come on, you're missing so much good stuff. Anything to add?
No, you nailed it.
Thank you very much. See you soon.